I be telling y'all, if you hear somebody knocking on your door or you hear somebody's voice but no one is home, never open the door. Scary story time. And this story this time is actually not my dad's story, it's my friend's story. She's also Haitian and she wanted to share her story with you guys. So when her family was supposed to come to this country, coming from Haiti, they kept it a secret. And this is actually a common thing because even with me too, when I was coming, it was an absolute secret. Nobody knew but me, my dad, and my grandma, and my uncle. And my uncle was a pastor. Well, is a pastor. But the reason for that is people are jealous and people will do anything to stop you from where you need to be. When they see you prospering and it's not them, I've seen it happen so many times in Haiti. Anyway, so that was the case for her and her family. At the time, it was her and her brother. And when I tell y'all, it was an absolute secret. Nobody knew they were coming to America but the people living in their house. It was literally top secret, which is why it was shocking to her mom when she got a phone call from a church member. Mind y'all, they weren't even that close. Like that church member, it's not like they were like best friends. It was just somebody they went to church with, and she actually lived very far too. Now, there was this lady that they knew, that everybody knew was a lugau, but it wasn't their business, you feel me? Like that's the lady's problem. That's her, she do her. Anyway, so the mom gets a phone call from the church member, and the church member tells her mom, I had a dream and I know that you guys are leaving. You guys are going to America, but so-and-so, the lady that's a lugau, does not like that. And she has something planned for y'all so that it does not happen. Mind y'all, they don't even know how the lugau lady found out that they're leaving. But I mean, you know, lugau. The church member tells her from her dream that she was told to tell her mom these instructions. First one is, of course, make sure that nobody else finds out. The second one was there was this uniform they used to wear to church for Saturday services. She tells them to keep that uniform and all of their clothes that they're going to wear until the day that they leave, and make sure that nobody touches those clothes. And the last thing that she told her to do was that the car that was supposed to transport them to the airport, change it. Absolutely change it. So they did all of that. They prayed, they followed directions and stuff like that, and everything worked out well. They got here thinking it was over, but woo, was it far from over.
A ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
Back in 2012, my family experienced a series of events that changed our lives forever. We moved into the main street house and only were able to live in it for about a year because of all of the paranormal activity. I've tried telling these stories many times before, but because it's 6 years of consistent hauntings, I find it really hard to find a way to categorize everything and keep the story flowing. Behind me is the list of just one section. This would be one house's experiences, and there's also pre-stories leading up to these events. This is part one and the events that led up to moving into the main street house. I do believe that my family had some sort of negative entity, possibly even a demonic entity attached to it, and be very possessive over it, because we had many years of hauntings in every house that we lived in. And by the fourth house, I realized it's not the house, it's us. Things just seemed to progress and spiral as we got older. As more negative came into our house, the stronger these presences got. We would always hear mimics. There was always like some sort of strange tragedy that nobody could explain. Around 2011, my ex-boyfriend's grandfather passed away. We went to his memorial a year later. All the aunts brought these really beautiful, fresh cut flowers. They like moved all the furniture out of the living room so the whole family can come. They have chairs set up with grandpa's picture in the front and all these beautiful, fresh cut flowers. At the end of the prayer, there was a little flicker to the candles. Everybody got kind of cold, but it wasn't cold. It just had this chill feeling. And that's when we noticed that all of the vases were empty. The flowers were still inside, obviously, but the water was gone. So for all the water to be gone, I've never seen a vase empty. Of course, them being Hispanic, middle-aged, like Catholic women, stereotypically, I hate to use this kind of stuff, but they were like, no, like not in this house, not in El Rezo, like we're praying that this can't be, you know, because that would seem almost like dark energy. that would seem like a ghost presence, and anything paranormal to them is straight demonic. So it was kind of like, just put a little bit more water. Let's get a pitcher and fill the vases up. It was very ignored and shushed. So everyone kind of just sat back and was like, "Ee!" But it was definitely something that made you wonder. We live not too far from my ex-suegra's house. We drive home. It was very just intuitive feeling. We felt that something bad was going to happen. It was very cold, and when we lived in the hood, so you're kind of nervous anyways, get into pulling in. But we get home, we walk up the stairs, and it just felt very, very, I want to say, clammy as we were unlocking the door to our apartment. And we have 2 little boys that we're carrying. It's late. As soon as we open the door, every single one of my toddler's toys goes off. All of the toys go off at the same exact time. Like 3-in-1 toy, that's going off. There's like a little ball that rolls around on the floor, that's going off. There's just so many little toys going off, and they're not connected. So it definitely was paranormal. There's no other reason for that. They're motion activated, but we weren't walking that heavy up the stairs. And this has never happened before. My ex, he's just like, oh, it's just abuelito. Just abuelito, hey, like, quit fucking around kind of deal, and I'm like, yeah. We go to sleep, and I think about 20 minutes after laying in bed, I get a phone call that changed my life. It was my dad's ex-girlfriend. Her name's Karen. Karen was an avid user, and she is gone. She's out of her mind, and she's yelling, saying that my dad had passed away. And I'm like, holy crap, what happened? I have so many questions, and she can only offer a few answers. She lets me know that she thought he had a heart attack and possibly like a stroke or like seizures and stuff. And I'm like, okay. So freaking out, frantic, I'm crying. I'm like on the floor. Like I let out the most blood curdling cry that came from my uterus. I never knew it was possible for me to make a sound like that. I call my brother. He already knew. He'd already been drinking. So I'm like, why didn't you guys call me? Whatever, family drama, right? I gotta drop the kids off. Like, we gotta take the kids back up to my suegra's house. We need to get to the hospital. So that's what we did. And on the way to the hospital, I call Karen again, and I'm like, so what's going on? Like, what's happening? Like, where is he? Where are they taking him? Which hospital? Like, where do I need to go exactly? Because there's a few hospitals in the area. And she's like, oh, he's fine. He's good. Don't even worry about it. And I'm like, what the fuck? Karen? What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, okay, is he still going to the hospital? Like, is he that good? And she's like, no, they're still going to take him to the hospital. She tells me the hospital name. She's like, but he's fine. Don't worry about it. Like, I'm just going to get some coffee and walk over to the hospital. And I'm like, okay. So I call my brother, and I'm like, yeah, so I guess he's fine. He's good now. And he's like, yeah, I'm still going to the hospital. I'm almost there. Like, I'll see you there. And I'm like, okay. My sister's coming. She lives about 2 hours away. She's on her way. Great. So we're all going to the hospital. When me and my brother get to the hospital around the same time, Karen walks in a few minutes after us. A nurse approaches us. She asks who we are. We tell her. She says, oh yeah, I'm so sorry for your loss. Like, he's here. They just brought him in on the back of the ambulance. Like, we're getting him like arranged. And I'm like, our loss? Like, I thought he was okay. She's like, yeah, he coded on the back of the ambulance. So he's gone now. And I'm like, what the fuck? So back to feeling heavy and like, like what the hell's going on? And then they tell us we can come back. My sister gets there at that point. We're waiting for way too long. But I guess, if he was already dead, right? Like, so they take us back, and the doctor stops us before we go into this little sectioned off area. He's like, so I want to let you know that he is in a lot of pain, and he's really groggy. And we're like, what the fuck? How is he in pain and groggy when he's dead? What do you mean? And the doctor's like, oh, nobody told you? And we're like, told us what? And they're like, after he got here, we were able to resuscitate him. He coded, but we got him. He's good. And we're like, okay, so what the fuck? Like, what? We're like looking at each other. My brother's laughing hysterically. Like, I think there was so much back and forth, and he had been drinking heavily. So he's laughing so hard to where he's crying. And the doctor's looking at us like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Like, what the hell? Karen, she has no shoes and socks on. Like, homegirl walked a 10-minute walk to the hospital. She's like chill, drinking coffee. It just was very strange. Even my sister and me were like, what the hell? Like, I'm trying to put my big girl pants on, but I kind of want to laugh. It just was bad. It was trauma responses, all of it. It was all bad. But this is where shit starts to get paranormal. You're probably wondering, like, why, how is this ghost related, right? Like, where does the ghost stuff come in? This is where the ghost stuff comes in. We got multiple entities surrounding us. My dad tells us that he didn't want to go back. So as he's laying down, and I hated this hospital. You know, they do that ghetto shit at County Hospital. He's in the middle of a freaking hallway, right? Like, and he had a heart attack, a stroke, and a brain aneurysm. So he's in a ton of pain, and they haven't given him medicine yet. So it's just all kind of, like, I feel so bad for him. So my dad's crying to us, telling us he didn't want to go back to hell. He's like, don't take me back to hell. Like, I don't want to go back. You guys cannot let me go back. Everybody needs to ask for forgiveness and pray now, because hell is real. I think, knowing now what I know, I think he was in purgatory, kind of like in Beetlejuice, the waiting room. You know, they're all sitting there kind of waiting to be sent to where they need to go, and it's a bunch of like the wackies and, you know, the crusty people and whatever. It's kind of like where you're being judged, and I know that's where my dad went. I don't think he was in hell, but it scared him enough to make him want to change his life and do right, because it seems about accurate to me. And I'll
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely.
I have one. When I was 16, 17 years old, my bedroom was the attic of my parents' house. One night, I proceed to have one of the most real feeling dreams I've ever had. In the dream, I'm sleeping in my bed. I wake up in the dream to an older woman standing in the corner of my bedroom. I do not know this woman, never seen this woman. She actually looked quite ghost-like, a little translucent. You could see through her a bit. Like she looked like a ghost. She proceeds to ask me, I have a son. He needs someone to play with. Would you mind playing with him? Not sure why I chose to say yes, but I did. And I was like, yeah, I'll totally play with your son. That seems totally normal. Like, we're in a dream, so, like, fine, I'll play with your son. As soon as I say, yeah, I'll play with your son, he appears, like, if I'm laying in my bed, like, she's on this side, he appears on this side of the room, like, right where the stairs are, the top of the steps. And he starts to walk over to my bed, comes to my bed, and he's like, let's play arm wrestling. So I'm like, yeah, no problem. Let's play arm wrestling. So I put my hand up like this. He puts his hand in my hand, and we are arm wrestling. At first, it's like a good give and go. We're like, oh, yeah. And then, like, he pins my hand completely down. I feel his hand, hold on. I feel his hand around my hand, ice cold. He pins my hand down and is staring at me. And I'm like, okay, like, let's play again. And he goes, I don't think you want to play this game with me. Just like that, like, dead stare. I don't think you want to play this game with me. So I'm like, what does that mean? Let's play, like, okay, let's play the game. So he goes, no problem. Digs his nails into my hand like that and starts pinning my hand to the bed, yelling, I win, 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 I win. I rip my hand away from his. I feel the scratch marks on my, like, right here. And then he takes a step back with this, like, grin on his face. And he becomes this, like, black cloud of smoke. And I know that sounds unreal, but just stay with me. So he's this big cloud of smoke. This is all still in the dream. I get up, I'm screaming, I jump out of my bed. Here's where it gets crazy. I jump out of my bed in the dream and I wake up in real life and I am fully standing on my feet. So as I'm standing on my feet, I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I'm down the stairs, out the room, right? And so my mom and my sister are downstairs in the kitchen cooking breakfast. My mom is a very spiritual person, so I have no problem just being like, yo, this is what just happened. And it's like, disregard the dream if you want, but I was fully standing when I woke up. Insane. And so typically, not saying typically like this happens all the time to me, but like my mom we regularly would have priests come over, bless the house, things like that. So like that's not weird. So like my mom throwing holy water around the house is not like an odd thing in my household. So like I'm expecting her to be like, okay, let me go get the holy water. I'll spray your room down. Like, not a big deal. She goes, the holy water is right there. You're going to go get it and go upstairs and throw it around your room with some salt. I'm like, why are you not doing it? She's like, I think you should do it. And I'm like, okay, this is insane. So I take the salt, I take the holy water, I go upstairs. My sister's like, I'll come with you, but I'm staying at the bottom of the stairs. Everybody's acting scared. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is something. So I have the holy water, I have the salt, I go upstairs. I have the holy water in like a little cup, and I have the salt. I go upstairs, and so I'm like throwing the holy water around, just a little flap around. And I have the salt, and I throw it onto my bed, and it sizzles. Bitch. I was going. I never ran down a flight of stairs faster in my life. I don't even think I touched one step. I jumped from the top 11 steps down, bow, hit it. I was downstairs the next flight, bow, hit it. I didn't stop for shit. I said the only way I'm going back up there is if y'all bring a priest to hose this house down with a fire truck of holy water. I'm not playing at all with y'all. And so my mama got the priest to come, and he blessed the whole house, top to bottom. He didn't miss no floor, no nook, no cranny. And I never had an experience like that again. So I don't know where that little boy is at, but I hope his soul is at rest, because he